Hello, Stampers. It's Brandy here. I am so excited that you've joined us for our 17th Creativate online stamping retreat. Welcome. We're so glad you are here. So I'm going to share with you my first project number 1. We're going to use embossing paste. I've got shimmery embossing paste and I've got matte finish embossing paste. So if you haven't played with some of that lately, well, pull it out. We're going to get messy and we're going to add some color to it. It's so much fun. Now, one of my favorite things about embossing paste is not only that it's a really cool texture paste, it's that you can actually make some fun designs in that paste. So that's what I'm going to show you here today. So the first project we have, I'm going to go ahead and show it to you. So check out this one. So this is our first project. Can you guess what I used to create that texture? Well, I'm not going to tell you yet. So let me show you the inside. So here is the inside of that card. Super fun and, really easy to do actually. So I did not use a decorative mask, nor a stencil. So I thought that was pretty cool. These are the stamp sets that we used. I used Petal Park and I also used this Sentimental Park along with your Builder Punch. So that's what I used for today's project. So I'm going to set that aside. We're going to jump right in and we're going to get our hands wet. We're going to get messy. So what I recommend is having maybe an old tin full of some maybe warm soapy water that you can put your palette knives in when you're finished using them. You don't want that embossing paste to dry on your tools. So you definitely want to have something. I have a wet paper towel here because my space is kind of small. So I'm going to be wiping it off to make sure it's good and clean as I move on in my process. Okay, so all of your sizes and dimensions are going to be in your tutorial. So you will have that. Now what you're going to want to have is you're going to want a block, and this is how I do it. Now there are lots of different ways to do this, right? You could use, like a little side little cup type of thing. What I like to do when I'm using my embossing paste is I take a block and I take one of our clear envelopes and I put my envelope in there just like that. And then I go ahead and I just seal it. So that protects my block. I don't have to worry, it's nice and tight. It's not moving around and I don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, that is going to dry on my block and my stamps aren't going to stick and it's going to be a nightmare. So that's what I like to do. Okay. And so let's start out with for this card, we're going to start out with shimmery white paste. I do have my palette knives over here. So, as far as which ones to use, I'd say pick the one that works best for you. I generally like this one. I actually go between that guy and this one. So, I'm not real technical when it comes to that. I think it's entirely up to you and what you enjoy using. So we're going to stir up our shimmery embossing paste. This stuff is so much fun if you haven't used it. I absolutely love it. Now the colors that I'm going to use today, I'm going to use some lemon lime twist. All right, so good little mound of embossing paste there. And I'm going to kind of hold that to the side. I have lemon lime twist and I have some daffodil delight. So I'm going to take, what I like to do is kind of make a hole there in the center. And I'm going to add a couple drops of my lemon lime twist, maybe 3. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I wanted it to be a little bit brighter. So I decided to add a couple of drops of daffodil delight. But, go light. It's like food coloring. The more you put in there, the darker it gets. So just kind of go light until you see how you like it. And I can already see some of that yellow in there, which I think is super, super cool and so fun. So what I'm doing is I'm just mixing up that paste and getting it good and kind of mixed. And I can already see I don't know that I have enough, but one thing that you can do, it's kind of fun, is if you wanted to add a bit more white in there, or you wanted to lighten up that color, just add a bit more paste and you can do that quite easily. Okay, so we have that part of it done. Now I've got a piece of basic white cardstock and I'm going to take that cardstock and I'm going to put a thin layer of my embossing paste on my cardstock. So here we go. This is the fun part. I love the embossing paste because I just think it's so much fun to play with. All right, here we go. So we're just going to start moving it down my paper. And I love the shimmer embossing paste because it just has, well, a beautiful shimmer. It honestly reminds me a lot of like our Dazzling Diamonds glitter. I know that's not what it is, right? But it does remind me of that a little bit because it does have that beautiful shimmer to it. So your paper will absolutely buckle a little bit because it's going, oh my gosh, what is all this wet stuff you are putting on me? So don't worry about that. When you adhere it to your card, you'll be able to adhere it flat. So don't worry about that when you glue it down. And so I'm just doing that thin layer. Sometimes I feel like I just like to play with this stuff. So it's like, okay, Brandy, move on. Don't dig a hole in that spot, right? So you can either turn your paper, which is easiest for me, or you can turn your scrap paper. I do want to point out I am using scrap paper, right? Just to protect my space and also just not to make quite as big of a mess. So here we go. I think my paste is on here perfectly. I think I'm happy with it. And I know that I've protected my block. So really the only thing that I really have to worry about at this point is making sure that my palette tools are cleaned off so they don't have, textured paste that adheres to them. Okay. So I know I said I was done. I know. You will understand when you start playing with this stuff. Okay. So like I said, I've got a wet paper towel here. I'm just going to clean this off so that I know that paste is not going to ruin my tools. And then the next thing you want to do is just make sure you close your paste so that nothing dries up on you. All right, next up, a plastic fork. That's what we're going to use to make our texture, or I should say design. So I know that my image is going to be in the middle, so I'm going to use my finger. And what I did is I just took my fork and I went straight down my design, just like that. Yep, and every now and again, I do recommend if you just take your paper towel and just wipe off your fork a little bit. And the reason is so that, clumps kind of don't get caught on it. So we're just going to kind of move. Oop, looks like I got some on my finger. And we're going to move down like that. Then what you're going to do, and this stuff does come off, I promise. But boy, does it get messy. It does. And then you're going to turn it, okay? And then you're going to take it and come back down this direction. And that's how I'm going to create kind of that grid effect as I'm going both directions with my fork. Pretty cool. And so you'll notice that your pattern is a little more prominent depending on if you go with light paste or dark paste. So it's, it's up to you. Now you will have a little bit of paste left, at least I do. And in that case, you should have like an extra dimension for this little strip here. So ideally, I probably should have put my paste on that before I cleaned my tool, but I didn't. And so I'm just going to go back and kind of show you that real quick and use this up. The point of this little piece here is this is going to accent the inside of your card. And so I am just going to use my fork and kind of run up that piece and then kind of make my little design here. Perfect. That's it. That would be a wrap on that. So I'm cleaning off my tools again, just to make sure that everything is clean. You might actually want to wash it as well in some soapy water. That is ideally the best case scenario to kind of get all of that off. Okay, so here we go. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and just take my block out of here. And I do have a trash can underneath me here. And what I'm going to do is take this whole piece and shuffle it aside because it is got, I want to let that dry. Now, if you're in a hurry and you're like, I really want this to dry fast, well, you can absolutely take your heat tool and you can dry it. So that is a possibility. But today I'm not going to worry about that. I've actually created another one for you. And when it's dry, that's what it looks like. Yeah, that is exactly what it looks like. So here we go. Let's go ahead and do our card today. I have a basic black piece here, and that basic black is going to be your card base. I also have two of the basic white pieces. One is going to be for the inside of your card, and generally I like to just go ahead and place that here on the top, just like that, and then I like to fold it over. I just find that that's just easier to glue it to the top than it is to the inside. But however you do it will work great. And then I have this layering piece that's going to go right here on top of my card. Next up is our embossing paste piece. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that shimmer, but boy, does it look amazing. And so I'm going to add my liquid adhesive, and you know, it might take a little bit of extra, maybe a little bit of time to, you know, make that guy chill out and sit, you know. Uh-oh, looks like I've got too big of a piece, don't I? Well, hang on. I guess what we can do is, here, I'll show you. What we can do, since that piece is a little bit big, what we can do is we can cut another piece of white and make it about 1/8 of an inch bigger, so you'll still get that white border. So let me show you that. So I have a piece of basic white here, and I'm going to pull up my trimmer. So this was totally not in the tutorial. So I would stick with the script and make sure that your piece is correctly cut. But what I'm going to do is just show you how to fix it. So we've got this piece is supposed to be, our basic white piece is supposed to be 4, but we're going to make it 4 1/8, which is going to be 1/8 bigger than the piece that I have already put my embossing paste on. And then we're going to make it, let's see what that's going to be 5 3/8. That's correct. So here, let's have a look at this. So I should, in theory, be able to glue this piece, yep, down to my basic white, which is about 1/8 of an inch bigger. And I'm still going to kind of get that white border, okay? And then I don't have to start over with my card base. All right, but your tutorial will have the right sizes and the dimensions. I just didn't realize that I hadn't cut that piece. Okay, so we're adding some liquid adhesive to the back of this piece, and we're going to add it right to the top of our card. And it looks like it's working perfectly. All right, so there you go. Perfect, 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 perfect. Okay, so now we're going to move on, and I have these, I've got these 2 stamp sets. So we're going to use these leaves. We're going to use the, you know, the stem, the leaves, and we're going to use some of these sentiments on our card today. So what I ended up doing is taking my scrap paper, and you're going to stamp the outlined image in basic black. Okay, so we're going to stamp this outlined image in basic black, and then we are going to add some color. All right, so the colors that you need is you need Melon Mambo, and you're also going to need some Daffodil Delight. And the good news is once you stamp those added colors, here we go. This is your stamp that's going to fill in the color. And I do have both of those colors here with me today, although I'm not actually going to stamp them for you because I've already done that. So you would stamp on top of those to get that additional color on there. So that allows you to, you know, to have that decorative flower and not have to actually color it in with markers. And then of course it's going to fit in your builder punch here, right? Your Petal Park punch. Punch that out. And then after you do that, you're going to get these wonderful pieces here. So this is Melon Mambo. This is Daffodil Delight stamped off. So this is the second stamp, and this is the first one. And that would be my flower, my leaves that I have already stamped once. Okay, so let's bring in some of our pieces here. And I am going to ink up my stem. So we've got Memento Black here. I use that for my everyday stamping. And I'm going to ink that up. I'm going to set that down right about in there. Perfect. And that's pretty much it for that. And then I'm going to start adding my flowers. Okay, so let's go ahead and start adding our flowers. I'm going to add this big one right here to the top. And I'm going to need some Stampin' Dimensionals. So I have them right here. So I'm going to add this big one right here to the top. And I just think these are so pretty. And of course you can do these in any colors that you would like, right? These are just the colors that I chose today. I'm going to take one Stampin' Dimensional and I'm going to cut it in half. So I'm going to cut this one in half. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I actually want the top of my leaf to be popped up. And then I'm going to use a mini glue dot to make sure the bottom of my leaf is secured down. The reason that I like to do that is it gives it a little bit more dimension, and I just think it looks really neat. So I'm just going to use my mini glue dot for the bottom of that, and then add it straight to my card or my flower. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is I have just a strip of extra scrap. I saved those scraps, and I am going to cut myself a banner edge. So I just come up the center, and I am just going to cut myself a banner edge right like that. Perfect, you see? So that is all done, and I'm going to set that aside, and then we are going to flip this guy over because we want this to be our sentiment to go across. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this guy over and add some Stampin' Dimensionals. Now this is a small piece. I generally wouldn't go too crazy on dimensionals, but because I am adhering it to embossing paste, it is dry paste, but I just want to make sure that it stays good and secure. Okay, so we've got that. Now let's go ahead and bring in our card, and we're going to add our flower right here to the center. And I think that looks good. Next thing you're going to do is you have this sentiment, and it's going to come right over the top of your card, just like that. So I am going to probably use a dimensional. Not probably. I am absolutely going to use a dimensional here at the end. And then I will just add a bit of liquid adhesive right through the center, and we will set it right across our card. So look at that. That's easy peasy. Yeah, once you get your embossing paste and all of that fun stuff done, then it comes together beautifully, quite easily actually. And then you've got all these flowers extra that we've punched out. You can layer them if you want to, or you could just adhere them straight to the front of your card. It's really entirely up to you how you choose to do that. Okay? And then on the inside, let's talk about the inside of your card. So on the inside, you're going to have a white piece, and we just want to make sure. Now this one, I could have probably, I used some liquid adhesive. I could have probably used a dimensional and popped that up, but that's entirely up to you how you want to do that. And also kind of going back to this embossed piece, you might just have to go in and push it down if you're using some liquid adhesive just to make sure it's good and secure. Okay, so on the inside, I have Let's Celebrate, and we're going to stamp Let's Celebrate in Memento Black. Good idea is to always stamp first on a piece of scrap, especially because we're going straight into the inside of our card, right? So let's start out with just making sure it's going to stamp right. Now you can also stamp your happy birthday directly underneath it, or if you want to have a little more dimension or interest, then you could stamp your happy birthday like I did on a piece of scrap paper. And it just kind of makes it another layer. And so I just put it on a piece of scrap paper. You could pop it up if you wanted to, or you could leave it as is and just adhere it right there inside your card underneath Let's Celebrate. See? Just adds a little something extra, but you certainly don't have to do that. And then on this card, I showed you how I did that extra strip. You can add that extra strip right here if you wanted to, or you could even complement the envelope And when I say complement the envelope, let me show you the envelope. So you could put this pink strip along the inside as well, and then adhere your yellow flowers, maybe right down here at the bottom, and they'll pop beautifully right off of that inside of your card. Okay, so either way you choose to do it will work beautifully. So let me show you my envelope and how I created that today. I'm going to just set that aside over there. I'm going to set the flowers aside. And of course, we're going to close our memento because we don't want to make a mess. And I'm going to bring out my flowers. So these are the flowers are from your sentimental park. And you're going to need a piece of scrap paper because we are going to stamp around your cardstock here. So we're going to move our flowers, kind of move the envelope. Melon Mambo. Let's get our Melon Mambo going here. So here we go. So here's my Melon Mambo cardstock, Melon Mambo ink pad, and then I have my flowers. And so I'm just going to stamp a design around here. How cool is that, right? Super easy peasy, nothing to it. And now I will have my design that will go inside of, or on the outside of my envelope, on my flap. Pretty cool, and it just really adds a little something extra. So I'm going to set that aside, close up our Melon Mambo, and then I'm going to pull in some liquid adhesive. Okay, so let's get our liquid adhesive. And when you do that, I like to kind of focus right up here at the top of the envelope along this line here. And I just add my adhesive along the envelope flap. And then I come into the center and do some squigglies, right? Because that piece is going to actually be glued down. So, when the envelope is closed, it'll be glued down and ripped open. So nobody's going to see it anyway. And as long as you're flush with that top edge, you should be good to go. You're going to open up your envelope, take your snips, and just trim around that envelope flap. And then you will have a beautiful envelope to complement your beautiful card. So I was super excited to show you that and exactly how I did that. So let's look at those two pieces together. So this is what it looks like as a finished card with its stationery. So just lovely and so much fun, so much fun. Okay, so I have my embossing paste over here still drying. I'm going to go ahead and carefully take it off, and I'm also going to take off the little inside piece and just let those dry over here. I'm going to bring my scrap paper back in because I'm not done yet today. I do have another card design that I want to show you. Now, I'm not going to put the whole card together, but I am going to show you how I created kind of the ombre effect as well as the design. Yeah, super excited about that. So the colors you're going to need on this one are Azure Afternoon, Pool Party, and Tahitian Tide. And then I also have my regular embossing paste. I've got over here 3 blocks that I've already, these 3 blocks I've already put in my plastics. And I did that on purpose so that I would protect my blocks. And the reason I have the 3 is because I have the 3 different colors that I'm going to mix. Now let me just grab my cardstock over here. Hopefully I have one. It looks like I do. And I've got my palette knives. You have to be all ready. You got to get everything all ready, okay? So I just need all my parts and pieces ready, and I think I'm good to go. So hopefully, oh, I might not have enough paste here. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to go shimmer paste. The only difference between this paste and the other paste is one has glitter. So I think just to be on the safe side, we're going to go shimmer just so I know that I have enough to complete this project for you today. So, and I haven't seen it in shimmer either, so I have no problem doing that, that's for sure. Okay, so I think that's good. We've got like 3 dollops, mounds, piles, whatever you'd like to call them. And I'm gonna just dig myself a little hole there in the center. It's kind of like, I think of it like my mashed potatoes and how I like to have a little hole for the gravy. Yes. Okay. So there's my pool party, just a couple of those in pool party, and then Tahitian Tide, a couple drops there. Okay, and then we're gonna move up and do a couple of drops of Azure in the top one. I'm going to mix starting the lightest color so that way, you know, I can kind of move my palette knife up as I go here. So let's see. So I'm going to go up in here and I'm going to do my Tahitian Tide, which is a fabulous color, and I'm so sad it's retiring. But let's just use it and love it while we can. And then Azure Afternoon is going to give us that really dark, beautiful blue, right? Along the Pacific Point kind of blue. All right, so now I am going to wipe my palette knife off because I am going to start back with that pool party, which is the lightest color. So here we go. Let's just dive in. That's what we do. So we're going to start out with the lightest color and just make our way across our paper, just like that. Okay, and you can see here I have got something maybe dry on my thing here that's scratching it a little bit. Not scratching it, but like, you see that line? So that means that I didn't do a very good job cleaning it off, and there's something in there that's kind of making it cranky, right? So that's why it's so important to make sure that you clean these tools off in between use. There we go, we got it. So that way you still have, you know, that nice smooth look that you're aspiring to get. Okay, so now that I have the pool party, let's go ahead and I'm going to just turn this paper because it just seems easier for me. You do it as you'd like. And I'm going to go on and I'm going to add Tahitian Tide. Tahitian Tide is going to be the next color in this phase, you know, in this kind of ombre sort of look, if you will. And then you kind of blend some of that pool party up into that, just like that, right? Perfect. Now we're going to take on some Azure Afternoon. And it's so pretty. When this dries, it's so pretty. And honestly, I'm a sucker for glitter and shimmer. So I probably will end up liking this one best because I like glitter and sparkle. So anyway, pretty cool. So if, you know, this is a perfect masculine card too for like a man birthday. So just kind of keep that in mind too. It's like the perfect, and you can, you know, do the regular embossing paste so you don't get that shimmer. So you can kind of, so that probably was not my best, you know, ombre there. There we go. I'm kind of moving it up in there and pulling it down a little bit. And so that's the idea. Just kind of get yourself, you know, where you can kind of smooth it out. Remember, the center of this card is actually going to have the sentiment. So I don't really need to get caught up in making sure that's perfect by any stretch. All right. So I think that's great. What do you guys think? I think it's pretty awesome. So let me step back here and clean off my stuff, because I can't stress that enough, how important that is to get these guys cleaned off really, really well. Okay. All right. So we have our blocks. I'm not going to worry about my blocks because they have plastic over them. Yes, I don't have to worry about them. Love that. Now, how did I make that texture? Has anybody guessed yet? Well, I guess I haven't shown you the card, have I? Well, you know what? We're just going to go right on to the texture. So here we go. This is what I used, a sponge dauber do thing. Yeah, a sponge dauber. You know, the little spongy things. So this is what I used. And no, I did not do this because that would ruin our sponge. But what I did is that. You see that circular end? Yeah, how cool is that? So I'm going to start with Pool Party. And you just kind of take it and do some little twists. And you'll be able to see as I kind of get going here. And so I just sort of twisted it, and then I worked my way up my cardstock. And of course you can kind of wipe off your sponge dauber, you know, kind of keep that clean so that you continue to get those great lines. Now when I do this, I actually kind of give it a little bit of a twist. That's how I'm doing that. Do you see how that's creating that fun design? So cool. You can overlap those circles if you choose to do so, or not, you know, it's entirely up to you. You could just do a few circles, however you want to do it. Now, when you're done, what do we have to do? Yes, you have to clean out your sponge dauber. Super easy to do. Put it in warm water or run it under the sink, okay? And you can clean that out very easily. It's not a big deal at all. So there you have it. Oh, how fun is that? Doesn't that look so cool? I absolutely love it. So let me show you the card. We're going to just set that aside and let this dry. And I'm going to show you the card that I created using that fun background. Okay. And actually, before I do that, this is what the background looks like in the regular embossing paste. You know, same sort of thing, but it just doesn't have the shimmer and it's dry. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. This is what the card looks like. Here we go. I've got to close it. There we go. So this is what the card looks like. And I use, let's pull the stamp set in that I used so you can see. So I used Biggest Wishes, and then I used Handmade Hugs. So I used the Happy Happy and the birthday, and then I actually used this one here. Today we celebrate you. So here you go. Happy, happy birthday. And then I added myself some gems to kind of, you know, add some interest to it. How fun. And then on the inside, I added some Pool Party, Tahitian Tide, Azure Afternoon cardstock. Again, all to complement the colors of the card. And then I had some extra embossing paste pieces that I just cut to accent underneath the sentiment. You know, so you could do just cardstock or whatnot if you didn't have any extra embossed pieces. But I had so much fun making these and practicing so that I have it right for you today that I had lots of extra. Yep. Now here, let me show you the envelope. I wanted to stick with the same sort of theme. So, well, that's what I did. You can see here that your envelope is going to coordinate. And how did I do that? Well, let me just set this card aside and I will show you exactly how I did that. Super easy peasy. And I think you'll be surprised. Yeah, I used the sponge dauber the exact same way that I did inside of my embossing paste. So I have my sponge dauber and I literally took it and did this. That's right. And then I went back after I had all of my circles and I didn't feel like they needed to be perfect. So I just, you know, I just kind of made my way around and then I took it and I cleaned it, stuck my finger in there, and then I daubed it. Yes, to add kind of the other little, you know, little things to it. So it just kind of gave it another fun look and it complemented that card beautifully. Okay, so I do have one more card for you today. And this card actually uses your Stampin' Spot. So we've used a plastic fork, we've used a sponge dauber, and now we have a Stampin' Spot. Yes, I just like to dream up ideas on how to do stuff. And so I thought, you know, that would make a fun pattern as well. So I'm not going to demonstrate that one for you today. You basically create it just like I've created all of the others here. However, I will show you once you're done what it looks like. So here I used Melon Mambo and I mixed Bubble Bath. Those are the two colors I chose. And so this one's a scrap piece. So let me just point that out. You'll see some other things on here. That was because I was playing with this piece after it was done. But this is a Stampin' Spot and I just did the exact same thing. And I just created, I mixed my paste, covered it flat, and then just started using my spot. And let me show you the super cute little card we've got here. So I used, if you are a fluffiest friends kind of person, I use this fun little kitty here and the flowers. And I also used, I think, friend, hello, or hello friend, and miss you. So I think those are the two things that I ended up using. And let me show you my card. So here is my card. And you can see that here is your lemon lime twist embossing paste. One stroke of the fork straight down. And then over here is your squares for your Stampin' Spot. Yep. And then, of course, I colored my little kitty with my Stampin' Blends and stamped my hello friend. On the inside, this sentiment, I actually stamped it 4 times. Once in black on the main inside piece, and then again in daffodil. Again, I cleaned it, and melon mambo cleaned it, and back in granny apple green. And then I just hand cut those different pieces out. And then I added my sweet little bird to that. And then once you do that, you can do your envelope flap. I just took my cardstock, and remember I said that miss you was one of the sentiments I used. I just stamped that miss you, miss you, miss you, miss you. I think that gets the point across that somebody is missing you very, very much. So that is my 3 cards for you today. I'm going to go ahead and just lay those back out for you here real quickly. And I would love to hear which one you like best. Oh my goodness, so much fun, right? I mean, so much fun. And we got some different textures out of this as well. And I think it's hard to pick a favorite. It really is. But I have to tell you, I think that I love the sponge dauber the best, just because it's so kind of unique and something that is really, really fun to do. So there you have it. Embossing paste, adding some texture, doing some texture tricks. Or, you know, somebody might not think, might wonder, how in the world did you do that? Well, grab yourself a sponge dauber, or maybe a Stampin' Spot, or a plastic fork, and just get started. So I appreciate you joining me. I hope that you enjoyed my tutorial today. Don't forget, you do have a PDF download that you can print for your idea and inspiration book, so make sure you do that. It has all of the sizes, the dimensions, and full color pictures, so you can see exactly how I created this card. Now, if you are one of our Creativate winners, you're going to want to go and look at your main event page to see if your name was drawn. And if it was, make sure you reach out to the Creativate leader who called your name so that you can claim your prize. Until next time, thank you for joining me. Bye, everyone.